Hello, welcome to the 5th day of October 2025. My name is Kurt, and this is my daily Good Life meditation, a live video exercise that I do each and every morning at around 5:30 a.m. to remember my life objectives and principles, those which are outlined in my book, Going Alone, which can be read for free at goingalone.org. I also use this time to think about the last, just a second please. It's nice to have everything just so. I also use the time to think about the last 24 hours and how I did with any noteworthy challenges or opportunities that I met. I go over my creed, namely the 8 objectives and one of the principles, and then I plan for the coming day. But first, quick check of the weather and the temperature and humidity, and then we'll do a little disclaimer work. So it's 20 degrees spot on and 82% humidity. 20 degrees, 82%. So, wow, it's considerably more humid. Yesterday was, at this time, it was 20 degrees and 72% humidity. And that humidity, as you know, the oft quoted phrase goes, makes all the difference. First, let's do a little bit of greeting, hello, and disclaimer. This is a personal journal video. You're welcome to watch and leave comments and criticisms. I'll read them when I get to the end. But as such, since it is a personal video, I'm at liberty to talk about anything I want for as much time or in as much detail or lack of detail as I choose. I do this live in order to help facilitate a better job. This is a very important daily activity to review my life, and I take this very seriously, and I've been doing it for a very long time, and it makes a real difference. I notice that I do a much better job if I have a camera turned on and the potential of somebody watching. It's just, you do better when you think someone's looking, right? And that helps me. If it happens to help any of you, then that's a really great thing too. I really appreciate that. Or maybe it just provides entertainment. I don't know. That's fine too. I will take periodic sips of my coffee, although I know that's a distraction. New subscribers, it's good to have you here, like I said, and my supporters on Patreon and my members on YouTube, thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Let's get started. For my note from the last 24 hours, says, fishbowl discomfort at the community festival. Yesterday was let me read that again. Fishbowl discomfort at the community festival. Yesterday was our local community festival, annual community festival here in Yada, the Valley of Tea. Normally we have it at the shrine and at grounds that we arrange. The many of the community come together and we arrange a central platform where children and performers can go up and do drumming and dancing, and they have lights. And then we have the community have set up vendors, the mothers mostly. We have tents and we have vendors, and it's a real affair. And I'm very fortunate that in my last tenure here in Japan, I got to experience that community festival very frequently. So I knew it very well. And since I've come back to Japan, I've been living in America for 11 years. Since I've come back, the character has totally changed. What's mostly changed is that the cohort of old men who knew how to run the festival and that led the way and knew how to assemble the platform and do the organizational routines, they've pretty much either gotten so old that they can't participate anymore, or they've died and moved on, so to speak. That means there's no one left with the old institutional community memory to run it anymore. And no young men in the community have really taken over. Now the women have done a pretty good job. The women take care of the more domestic side of it. They would do all the internal stuff in the Kominkan, the community center, arranging for the vendor. I mean, not the vendors, but who was going to man each vending table, making sure that the food was purchased and prepared and running all that. So the men were responsible for the physical work and the logistics of setting up the festival, and the women were responsible for the concessionary logistics, as well as the logistics related to making sure that the children came to the community center every night in the weeks leading up to the event, and would train the kids on how to play the taiko drums that we owned as a community, and how to do the festival dances. In the 11 years while I was gone, that all basically, for the most part, has faded. So we no longer, as a community, the men no longer raise the big platform. Instead, we just set up a little platform on the ground. We no longer have we don't do the vending or concessions ourselves. We hire professionals. These are kind of like a carny class of individuals that come in, and they're good. I mean, they do a great job, but it's not us. It's different. It's the difference between having Thanksgiving catered or having Thanksgiving done yourself. It really is that difference. So this is my first year at the festival, which usually is in the summertime, but because of the increasingly hot summers, the community decided to make it an autumn festival, and we had it yesterday on the 4th day of October. First, I guess that would be ostensibly the first Saturday of October. And it was a disappointing affair. Disappointing for someone like me who knows the old ways, right? Who remembers what it used to be like, and kind of pined for that in a way. Gone were all the old men and all the old women that used to run the affair. In their place are middle-aged men and women who were kind of, at their wits' end, not sure exactly how to do it. I just heard a hornet. A little bit lost would not be too strong a word. Add to that, we had the untimely rain arrived just when the festival was to begin, so it was ostensibly canceled. I'm sure we let the kids do their drumming and their dancing in the community center, but no one really went in to attend, including my family and I. We simply showed up to pick up the food that we had bought by tickets a week or prior, and to move on. Although certainly those people who were in charge were trying to get people to attend. Nobody seemed to have the spirit, and nor did we. So we came and we left, just like everybody came and left. I guess that's kind of how these things die, right? My father-in-law told me that when he was a boy, this same festival was a raucous affair that would go on all the way into the next day, all night long, with a big bonfire and music and drums and drinking and just the whole merriment of the village. But that's gone. But that's just me telling stories. The purpose of this is a more selfish aim, right? I'm here to talk about how my experience relative to all of this, after all, this is my good life meditation. So my note here says, fishbowl discomfort at the community festival. So all that put aside, I was surprised and a little bit shocked to find my old self again at the festival. Now, why would I be surprised to find my old self again here in Japan? I lived here for a long time. I know what it's like to be here. I know the discomforts and the challenges that I usually face. Well, the reason that it was awkward was that so many of the things that I anticipated would be difficult in coming back have not proven to be so. For example, being a foreigner isn't really a problem for me at all anymore. It used to be a problem. The stares, the standing out, the assumptions that I can't speak the language, which are largely true, but I can get by. That stuff used to bother me. It doesn't bother me anymore. I could go on. I think I pretty much encapsulated the whole thing. I'm no longer at odds with being a foreigner in Japan very much. There are a few little things, but for the most part, it doesn't bother me. But it did yesterday. I arrived at the festival, and for some reason, this community here that I live in has very few foreigners. Just a handful. But for some reason, when we go to the festival, it's always like this at this particular festival. It's like a kind of a laser-focused distillation. The foreigners that are there, which is only ever me, really stand out. The people that see me on the street and have passing hellos once in a while will come forward. They're more gregarious, more energetic in their energies to meet and greet and shake hands, so to speak, with a foreigner. And I know that, and I've always been aware of that. But for some reason, it bothers me. It's like I can't, in the past, it's like I can't go to the public event and really be anonymous. Now, sure, Kurt, that's what you signed up for, right? And choosing to be a foreigner living in a place like this. That's what you signed up for. You know better. I do know better. Yet, and it surprised me, it bothered me. So how did I handle it? Well, I enlisted my objectives and principles, you can imagine. First, of course, was temperance, to control my emotions. Second was reason. Those two are always the 1-2 punch, right? To basically, decide that I would follow my wife and my sister-in-law, who were with me at the festival, through. Whatever they decided we were going to do, I was going to follow their lead. I would be polite. I would engage with people. I would smile, etc., etc. And I did my best. But my best was almost identical. There's a hornet right there. My best was almost identical to the best I was able to muster 11, 12, 13, 15 years ago when I lived here before. I didn't do any better than I would have then. But that surprised me. I thought I was better now. I thought I was better able to handle being a foreigner in Japan than that. I am with so many other contexts and venue. Why not the festival? What is it about that? I have to give it some thought. Prepare for next year. Got a year to prepare. I'll be in good shape. So there was that. Now I will go ahead and add something to the mix. I did spend another thing that I did tackle that was good. We're still quite a ways out from tax season, and my tax filing for 2026 is going to be a complicated one for a couple of reasons. One, my accountant has retired, an accountant that I've been using for a long, long time. Very good and capable person who's always handled my taxes for a long time. Has retired, so I'm on my own now. Now, I've reached out to a couple of tax professionals here in Japan that are able to handle both taxes, because I need to file taxes in Japan and I need to file taxes in America in that order, and I have to do it right so that I don't get double dinged, all that kind of stuff. But I've decided I'm going to tackle it this year myself. I'm going to, because, heck, I'm retired, right? I've got lots of free time, plenty of time to plan and think about it. Plus, I've got artificial intelligence to help me out. Plus, I'm pretty well versed in TurboTax. I've used it. I used it before, a long time ago. I mean, I'm sure it was the last time I lived in America that I lived in Japan that I used it, but I'm pretty well versed on it. And I use it. I use QuickBooks to manage my business. But take it on myself. Now, I'm still quite a ways away from having to file taxes, but it's on my mind. And I was a little bit worried. I was in a little process in the back of my mind, worrying a little bit, like, how are you going to do this, Kurt? How are you going to pull this off? Because you have to do it in a timely manner, first in Japan and then in America, and make sure you do the crossover. Don't worry, I know all the details. I know about the foreign earned income exclusion. I know about the reciprocal agreements to make sure we don't have to get double taxed and everything like that. I'm on top of all this stuff. I'm not soliciting tax advice. What I'm simply saying is that it was on my mind, and I was noticing yesterday and the days prior that it was beginning, that thought was beginning to creep into my mind as worry. So how do I handle worry? I use hashtag temperance, hashtag reason, always the 1-2 punch, to control the emotion down and then apply the reason to come up with a plan. And that plan was, I reserved a block of time yesterday and I studied the tax situation and figured out my plan of action. And so the details are unimportant, but I have a good plan in place. I know what I'm going to do, and I know how to do it. And I have I have the phone number for a couple of professionals who understand people like me, Americans living abroad in Japan and subject to taxation, or at least for taxable accounting and recording in America as well as to do my due diligence here. So I'm ready to go. And that felt really good. So that's another example of, encountering a speed bump in life, figuring out how to use the values that I've worked so hard to develop over the years to apply to managing the situation. That's pretty much all I have to say for yesterday. As for the creed, it consists of the following 8 objectives, which you can read in my book, like I said. Just go to goingalone.org, click on the read the book button in the middle, look for the chapter titled The Good Life, and it's all laid out there. Objective number 1 is to be ready to die at all times, having my affairs, my relationships, and my life's work in good order. Number 2 is to make good and effective use of my time, to not let my day or my life get wasted in frivolity that I would not be proud of. 3, to develop and maintain good and sound life principles, which are precisely the 8 objectives and 35 principles that I'm alluding to now. Number 4 is to cultivate good emotional reactions. So when I feel emotion arising, I get a hold of it and I manage it. Number 5 is to perform good actions relative to my values, living my life in a virtuous manner throughout the day. Number 6 is to recognize my true limits and my true opportunities, to know the scope of my potential engagement with the world and operate within those said limits. It was recognized, identified, accepted, maybe protested a little bit, but at least in the end, accepted where they are true and found to be true limits. Number 7 is to do just one thing at a time and do that thing slowly and deliberately and carefully. And number 8 is to achieve, that's the better way to say it, achieve a state of balance, which comes naturally as a result of the good attendance to the first 7 objectives. If those can be attained, mostly, I'd say it's 80%. If number 1, readiness for death, can be attained, then balance follows. All right, let's read one principle. Today I'm going to read principle number 2, the principle of war. Sorry, the principle of reason. The principle of war is principle number 1. So opening Going Alone to page 252 of the hardbound edition, the principle of reason, with sub-principles: honesty, objectivity, doubt, and humiliation. Humiliation, yeah, that's an important one. I'll explain it. And we'll open with a quote from Aristotle. The life of reason is best and pleasantest, since reason, more than anything else, is man. So too, this life is also the happiest. That's why it's such an important principle to me. The principle of reason. Reason is my first instrument of reconciling hypothesis with truth. To be effective, I must be honest with myself and others regarding what I know and do not know, and make pains to view the world objectively, without coloring reality too much with imagination fortified of want or need or fear or the normalizing pressure of authority, tradition, and unfounded consensus. Spoken at you, Mr. Japan. Doubt is my default stance and starting point for every new venture of inquiry, and humiliation, there it is, at my own realized folly, the surest sense that I am on the right track of correcting my own wrongs. Reason, at its best, is a tool of self-immolation, turned first inward as I seek to burn away the chaff and waste of unprincipled living, and then outward in resistance of our species' less worthy answers to the mysteries of life. Reason turned first inward, second to burn away my unprincipled beliefs, notions, thoughts, wants, and then turned outwards to do the same with whatever the world presents me as unreasonable truth. Okay, let's talk about today for the next 24 hours. Today we're going to the flea market. It's a Sunday, and my notes here says I'm going to attempt to have a controlled flea market experience. What I mean by that is I'm an antique dealer by trade, but I'm a retired guy, and my business is shut down right now due to the tariffs. I was doing it kind of like a gentleman antique dealer for a few months, but now that I can't do it, I've shut the business down. Yet I still like going antiquing. My wife and my sister-in-law like it too. But what I was doing was, for the last couple of weeks, I've been going to the antique market like an antique dealer and spending all my money in my pocket to buy things that I don't have. I don't need. I don't have any ready outlet to sell. they're basically not a good thing to buy. A few decorative items for my room are fine. What I'm going to do then to address that is I'm going to change I was already attempting to do this over the last month, changing my frame of mind, going to the flea market and literally having a little talk with myself at the entrance of the shrine gate to enter the flea market, saying, Kurt, you're not here for anybody else today, other than maybe sharing some visuals with my camera to share with others. That's for other people. But you're here for yourself, to enjoy the atmosphere, to see the faces of the vendors who I know, to enjoy the experience of seeing these old things like museum pieces laid out, ready to have a look at, to enjoy, and to maybe even buy one or two small items to add to my growing collection of Japanese antiques, maybe with a mind of selling them one day if I have the opportunity. That's what this is about. And as such, I need to go with less money, because if there's anything that I'm a bit of an impulse buyer on, it's bargain antique items, right? Like I got something, let me show it to you. I'll go get it. I got something we were out last week, and I got something that is an example. Have a look at this, would you? This is a piece of art that I bought last week, and I got it from a dealer that I know. She's the kind of dealer who comes upon things but doesn't really realize what they are, and she sells them, and not to take advantage of her. I mean, I simply, as I do with everybody, I pay whatever they offer. I don't haggle at the flea market. I never ask for a bargain. I simply say, "Ikura desu ka? How much is it?" And whatever they say, if I decide I want it, if I can afford it, if it seems reasonable, I pay it. I never ask for less. So she wanted a price for this one that was a very reasonable price. I didn't really realize what it was, but I really, really liked it. I mean, it's on fabric, painted item. It's a painting on fabric, and it's got a samurai over here with his hawk, looking very regal. And over here are two gods. This is Daikoku and his friend. I can't remember his name. Anyway, I didn't realize what this was, and then, but I knew I wanted it not to sell, but to add to my room, to mark it up here, put it up on the wall. And it's just beautiful. And the frame alone, look at the quality of the frame. It's a great frame, very well constructed, beautiful wood. And it used to be gold, but it's since it's painted over, and it's got showing through. I mean, it's very, very wabi-sabi. Anyway, I paid a good price for this, but it wasn't great. It wasn't a huge price. Anyway, the point is, this is the kind of thing that I'm willing to buy. Something that's special like this, but I don't need to be buying stuff that's just I'm going to hang this on my wall. I don't need to be buying stuff that I'm just going to put in the closet, right? So I have to temper myself. By the way, I did learn what this was. I ran into another antique dealer at the market who told me he's more of an art dealer, and this is one of the things that, a lot of the antique dealers, they circulate and they learn from one another. But he said he took one look at this and he said, well, that's old, Kurt. And I said, how old is it? Well, it turns out that this is a type of art that was made at the end of the Edo period, which is Japan's feudal period, which ended in 1868. So this is probably made before 1868. And it was, this type of art was made at the end of the Edo period when the people were kind of fed up with the samurai who were going out, and they began to have art that would poke subtle fun at the samurai. Do you see how regal the samurai looks and how almost comical the two gods look? That's deliberate. They're poking fun at the samurai. The samurai, it's almost like political satire, cartoons, made of politicians in a comical manner to kind of not be overtly disrespectful, but kind of in a less overt way to poke fun at them. That's what that is. So it's a late Edo period piece of artistic satire. Got it for my room. Now that's the kind of thing I want to have some money in my pocket to buy when that deal comes around, right? Not so much the things that would just go into my closet and wind up on eBay. So that's what I mean when I say controlled flea market experience. I'm going to control it by, I'm only going to bring a couple thousand yen, and I'm going to put my brain into a frame of mind to enjoy the experience, to share the experience with my wife and my sister-in-law, to go slowly through, not looking for bargains, but just to enjoy what I'm seeing. And I've been there long enough, and everybody knows me now again. A lot of them knew me from before, that I'm no longer a novelty there. People know that I'm a serious, respectful, um, uh, somewhat knowledgeable foreigner amongst their midst. And so they when they see me come into their midst, the reason I'm saying that is, when you're a foreigner and you when you appear in places in Japan, you get attention. People notice you. They're observing you until they stop doing that once you become a familiar enough sight. I've already passed that now, and a lot of these people remember me from when I was an antique dealer before. So today I can go and it looks like the weather is clearing and really just have a fun time. Which is what this whole retirement game largely should be about, in addition to the hard work of trying to live well and be well. All right, let's look at the temperature now. It's still at 20 degrees and 85%. So it's, for humidity. Humidity's gone up 3%, and temperature's rock solid the same. Let's read comments. Hello, Nancy. Good to see you. Which festival are you talking about? I just hopped in. I'm talking about the, if you're still there, I see this is one of the first comments. Our local community festival here in Yara, Yara Community, Shizuoka, Japan. Annual event. Jim chiming in. Hey, Jim. Weather check for the UK at 9:40 p.m. is 11.1 C and 72%. Humidity, wild weather day as Storm Amy passed through. Roof still on, garden a mess. Wow, I hope that you and others in your part, are you, what is the region? Is that the Midlands, or am I thinking of Scotland? I hope you and others in your region are doing well. I guess the storm Amy hit pretty much the entire British Isles, right? Hello, Ray. Good morning. Ray chimes in at 18C and 66%. Beautiful sunny day. Very nice. It's nice temperature and nice humidity for sure. A little bit like heaven. There's Evelyn. Hey, Evelyn, you like the shirt? Yeah, Yumiko help me pick this out. Now that the weather is cooling a little bit, I can wear it again. It's kind of like if Hawaiian shirts need camouflage, right? Militant surfers had a shirt. This would be the one. I like the kind of the camo feel. Now that the weather's changed, I can start to wear these shirts that Yumiko's been helping me buy. Michael says hi. Hey there. Ray says, on the topic of taxes, do you follow politics? Sanae Takeichi just won election and likely BPM. She was known as Mini Abe and more recently called Female Trump, likely to bring back Abenomics. I do follow politics, but I never talk about it. Tim says, really enjoy collecting antiques, old portraits, Georgian art, and the fun being researching the history behind the portrait. It sort of gives you a direct link to the past. Tim, do you use AI to that effect? Like we go out to these antique stores and I'll just take a picture and show it to AI and ask it to, because you can do like with ChatGPT, you can do the deep think mode and it'll actually go back and do research and cite sources. It's fascinating what you can turn up in that capacity. And isn't that just the most fun? And you so lucky. I'll bet where you are is just full of both the antique stores are to die for, right? Tim says, in the Midland, Scotland had the worst of the storm. I think highest wind speed recorded was 96 miles per hour. Wow. So the Midland is in Scotland. I see. But what do they call that area where you are, where Litchfield? I know you don't live in Litchfield, but that's where Dr. Johnson was from, not far from you. Isn't there a name for that region? I'm sure there's a name. I just don't know what it is. Ray says, I try not to talk politics as well, but follow them to plan for the future. Ah, yes, that's wise. Tim says, sorry, I'm in the Midlands, LOL, yes, starting to use AI to do some history research. Ah, okay, I see, wow. So circling back to Ray about the politics. Ray, I've been speaking of politics, which I usually don't speak of at all, but one of the things I really, really enjoy doing is having deep political conversations with ChatGPT, not about current events, but about the history of politics, why things are the way they are, historical precedents, the cyclical themes that we can see through history. It's really fascinating. So in terms of politics, I'm very interested in the macro activities of human beings with relative to it as well. I'm not so much concerned about the day-to-day of it all, although like you said, for planning, that's smart as well. But the themes that humans do are very interesting. And from a political perspective, it's really fun to study, again, with ChatGPT, to talk about with them, especially the new 5.0, which is like so much smarter. Sorry, just a brief tangent, but I've just got to say, the difference between ChatGPT 4, 4.5, and now 5 is the difference between a really good professor at university and your favorite professor of all time. It's like having your favorite professor of all time ready to talk to anytime you want. Ah, there you go, commercial done. Tim says, in the West Midlands, Lichfield is officially a city as it has a cathedral, even though the town is quite small. Really? Have you seen, I think I asked you this before, but have you seen the statue of Dr. Johnson, looking pensive in the rain above where his father had his book selling stall? Ray says, agreed. The themes in history throughout the world is very interesting. All right, well, I reached the end of comments. I want to hold on for just a second because I want to hear if Tim, and I think I asked him this before, and I think he told me yes, if he's seen that wonderful statue of Dr. Johnson. And while I wait to see what Tim says, I'll just fill all the rest of you in. Dr. Samuel Johnson, when he was a young man in his teens, was asked by his father, who was struggling, to come help him with his book selling. And Johnson refused. And as a grown man, he felt racked with guilt that he didn't do more to help his father when his father was in need when he was a young man, and actually visited Lichfield in the rain and stood. The story goes that he stood on the spot, his father long dead, where his father had once had his book selling concession on the stones of the open air market. And there's a statue to this day, and it's a beautifully rendered statue of the great man standing, looking down in very thoughtful repose, kind of with an expression on his face, not very unlike Rodin's The Thinker. Evelyn says to Tim, sorry about your garden, Tim. Glad you're okay, though. Yeah, definitely. Tim says, yes, seen the statue. It is a lovely place near the cathedral. Ah, gotta see it someday. Gotta see it. Maybe we can get together and have a coffee when Yumiko and I finally make our way to your part of the world. Very old world. Wow. Okay, well, everybody, thanks for joining me today. No radio exercise today, so I'm going to finish up here, get this all tidied and this video is all titled, then I'll finish uploading Retiring in Japan, or let it go live. It's already uploaded. It's just sitting there. I've got this workflow set up so that I complete the Retiring in Japan video, upload it to YouTube before I start this video. And then in the 30 minutes to an hour that I spend doing this, YouTube is rendering it to 4K. And then when I'm done with this, I go back and sit down. The Retiring in Japan video is now ready at 4K. I can launch it. You see how the workflow works? It's very nice. And then usually that's just the time to run out and do radio exercise. But on Sunday, no radio exercise. And yesterday I skipped it. And Yumiko asked me, she said, did you skip radio exercise this morning? And I said, I sure did. She said, what's up? And I said, well, it was raining. Radio exercise is at 6:30 in the morning. It was raining a little tiny bit at 6. And she laughed at me. And I said, yeah, it was raining at 6. I use that as my excuse. Retired guy prerogative, right? Ray says, really love the flow of your videos and consistency with postings. Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. Have a wonderful day, Ray says. I'm going to mirror back what Ray said here, and I wish everyone a wonderful day. And I hope you all have a great upcoming week as well. Tim says, I don't think Dr. Johnson visited my town, but Charles Dickens did. Have a great day. Just got to add, I wouldn't be surprised if Dr. Johnson didn't visit your town. As far as I could figure out, Tim, to Johnson, who famously said, the man who tires of London is tired of life, I think Dr. Johnson had very little need of any community outside of London other than Lichfield, and he probably would never have gone there if it hadn't been for the fact that that's where he was born. The fact that James Boswell got Dr. Johnson to make a tour his great tour of Scotland and the Isles is an amazing thing. But I wouldn't be surprised that if Dr. Johnson never visited your town, and that certainly doesn't show, that doesn't um, show any shade on your town. It just simply means that Dr. Johnson's regard was instead for, of course, London. London, London. Oh, I would love to have been there at that time, although maybe it would kind of been kind of gross. I don't know. Take care, everybody. Be safe, but not too safe.